the rise of music streaming and digital media, most artists make very little money through actual music sales these days. But our next guest created a platform that they hope will let musicians reclaim their work. Joining us now are Vezt co-founders Steve Stewart and Robert Menendez. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Pleasure having us.
Yeah. All right, so last month, of course, rapper Eminem said he was planning to do something similar. So explain what Vezt is and explain your monetization process and really how this works, because it's super disruptive and also a little complicated.
It's a mobile app, and it allows fans to participate with the artist in buying little shares of their songs. So instead of having to buy an entire catalog, or instead of having to work through a label or a publisher, you can have a direct partnership with the artist and buy into your favorite song.
Okay, so just to clarify here, and Robert, maybe you can jump in as well. You get ownership in this song, or you just get to access and listen to this song?
No, you get ownership in the song. You actually participate in the IP. It allows the artist to set reversions, which basically allow them to get their copyright back, so to speak, and allows the fan base to participate in that artist continuing to make music. If you have a fan base that wants to hear what you're making, there shouldn't be an intermediary deciding what gets made. So if the fans want to finance and continue to put money to work with you, they can in a very direct relationship, and that's what we're excited about.
Are artists completely bypassing labels in this process?
They can. Even if you're signed, though, a lot of artists don't understand they have writer share, publisher share, and a master share. A label sometimes owns part of that, but usually there's one of those channels that the artist still retains, and they can put that up on the platform for sale.
And we think labels will use the platform as almost like a training ground, right? Like the ability to vet out and see what musicians they want to get behind and spending less money. If you look at film finance, you have slate film financing, right? That doesn't exist in music. There's not a way to diversify the risk. And that's what we're hoping to bring to the business. More money for the artist, participation from the fan base, and the ability for people around the IP to monetize themselves.
Just like what happened in the financial markets in the late 80s, right? It became a consumer market. You had E-Trade, Charles Schwab. Before that, you couldn't buy one share of IBM. You had to buy a block through a broker, be accredited. Now you can actually buy one share on your phone in 2 minutes for free. So this allows fans and institutional investors and brands to come in and buy directly into the song versus going through an intermediary.
Who are some of the artists that you've been working with that have expressed interest?
So we're talking to DJ Khaled, we're talking to Bruno Mars, we're talking to a number of other artists that are
Wu-Tang, we were just meeting with Tarif, their manager in LA. We want to empower, Apple has a value because they create that IP, right? That's the value that Apple has. Music is the only place where the IP is created away, right? And then given a different value by, say, the label or the publisher. We're going to monetize producers, writers, and artists to have freedom to create what their fans want to see.
And we're bringing value back to the actual music. Because labels force feed something through the press, through marketing. Maybe you don't want that, but you see it all the time. This is a real organic way for artists to connect with their fans.
So Robert, you mentioned writers, producers, and then the talent themselves, or the singers or songwriters, whomever it may be. Obviously, people know that many different people go into creating a record. And so how does that work in terms of one particular song? I mean, a dozen people could be involved in that. How do you just treat the artists and themselves sort of like a corporate entity, or do you do it on a piecemeal basis where the songwriter gets something, the producer gets something, and then DJ Khaled gets something himself as well?
We're using the current model, right? This is something that is already happening, but it's structurally doesn't flow really well, right? It has a lot of inefficiencies. Technology is here to break those inefficiencies and make things seamless. So if you're the writer and you have points, that exist in the ledger. If you're the artist and you have points, that exists in the ledger. But that's your ownership, and you can do what you like with your ownership. You can place it on the platform, you can join together with different people and place it on the platform. We work within those ownership rights.
Steve, what's the price point on a share of a song? I mean, I'm sure there's a range, but I mean, what are you thinking that people should be paying?
It's set by the artist. We let them control the range, and we're not selling it in shares. They can do a raise of $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 depending on what they want. And fans can buy in, just like you're buying a share of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy 1 Bitcoin or 3 Bitcoin. You can buy a fraction of it. So if you've got $5 or $10 or $100 you want to invest, you can put that into that song pile. The artist takes that back out based on the price point they set.
Okay, you've raised about $3 million, a little over $3 million in less than 12 months. A lot of investment coming from the music industry, the tech industry. Where are you seeing it?
Originally from the tech industry. We received some financing from Binary Capital originally and some other venture funds. And it's just been exponential. We've added some really powerful individuals to our advisory board. been 100-mile. It went from an idea to a concept to you can't even check our email without there being 100 things in the inbox. So we're really excited about where we're going.
So most artists then do look at this as another way, another channel, right, to reach the fans, to create music in addition to their label.
Absolutely. I mean, most artists want to connect. The reason they do live performances, the reason they write music is to connect emotionally with people. And I think when the labels and the publishers got involved, they kind of disconnected that. They brought that away from where it really came from. And this thing allows people to connect with their favorite song, with their favorite artist in an emotional way. Some of our investors will be there for the ROI, but we think most of the people involved want to buy their favorite song.
Well, I want to hear more about the ROI element of this. I mean, what can someone expect in terms of monetary value to receive by buying part of a song?
So a lot of songs that are established have an established return. You're seeing Bowie bonds. I don't remember the Pullman bonds that were done around David Bowie's catalog. They were able to securitize that because the income stream is very consistent. So after a certain point in time when you have an established song, the income is very stable and people are now starting to securitize against that. On a newer established act, it's hard to develop that value initially, but we think once we have a historical trend basis, we can set those values pretty easily.
It's a non-correlated asset, right? So music returns what it returns regardless of what the market does. So I think you're going to see, as this becomes an easier platform to get involved with, I think you'll see larger amounts of money coming into into this type of market, this type of investment.
So we've heard too that Eminem wants to do this on his own.
It was actually some of his early producers, and someone acquired the catalog from them. This goes back to the rights. These are multiple rights. So Eminem has ownership in his songs, but so does the producer, so does maybe a co-writer or someone else, right? And then these rights are owned individually. So if you own 2% of Eminem's song, you can do with that as you like as far as monetizing. Now you can't put the song in a movie or control the content, but you can definitely give the monetization piece to someone else to collect that revenue.
So it would seem as if your pitch is that it allows for easier collaboration versus if an artist like Eminem wants to go out and do this on his own.
Well, it allows the fans to touch that artist one-to-one. Right? The artist or the co-writer, the producer wants to make their shares available. Those fans can come in and say, I want to buy one piece of that, or 1% or 2% of that. Whereas with buying an entire catalog, I think the Eminem deal was an entire catalog or multiple songs, and it was going to go into an ETF type of basket, which is almost like a mutual fund. So in that instance, you're buying into a stock issue. In our instance, you're actually buying into the song itself. So there's a big difference as far as the artist setting it up the way they want it and the fan actually participating at the level they want.
And I like what it's called too, ISO, Initial Song Offering. Of course, we have IPOs happen down here, and then we keep hearing of this term ICO, Initial Coin Offering, which is becoming popularized in the Bitcoin community.
It is.
We view this as a real way for fans to connect with music and for musicians that have something to put out to continue to put it out without an intermediary deciding. You might have 1 million fans, and you know what, the record label doesn't want to make that kind of music anymore. We're hoping to change that.
How are you making money?
Well, we're going to monetize on money coming in and money going out. So it's a transactional platform. Just like a credit card fee every time you buy something or the merchant collects something on the purchase, that's our platform. We're a transactional platform.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us
Thank you
today.
for having
We're going to
me.
leave it there. Good to see you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's Steve Stewart and Robert Menendez. They're co-founders of Vezt. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.